Hi, everybody. Don Giannetti, lighting-essentials.com and project52prosystem.com. This is the fourth and final show on my free Black Friday series. I try to do something every Black Friday instead of trying to grab your money in your wallet, even though there's some absolutely ridiculous emails. Like I just got an email from somebody. They were offering 99% off. That's right. You could get $1,000 worth of their stuff for only 10 bucks, which tells me that $1,000 was a ripoff. You can sell it for 10 bucks. You're just ripping me off. So I don't participate, and I don't really want to try to sell you guys anything. I just want to help you succeed. And if I can do that, then I have had a very great day. Look at there, Stephen and Michelle. Holy crap, holy Stephen and Michelle. What's up, guys?
All right, that's enough. That's enough.
That's incredible. Well, glad to have you here, Stephen. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Don.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about something that's really near and dear to my heart, and that's lighting, and something even as near and dear, and that is natural light. And I think that, well, I don't want to say I think that. I know that a lot of people think of natural lighting as no lighting. It's natural lighting as, well, the sun come up and I take pictures. And that's not how I think of it at all. I very much believe that there's a whole cadre of tools and ways to approach natural light that you can really see a difference in your photographs and in the style of the work that you're doing, and that this myth that I think exists too many places is that people who do natural light somehow are afraid of or don't know how to, or some sort of disparaging things because of flash. Well, I guess they're using natural light because they can't use flash. Well, you know, the great Peter Lindbergh used a lot of natural light, and sure as hell wasn't because he didn't know how to use flash. He certainly knew how to use flash. That's not a, believe me, learning how to use flash isn't hard. It's a piece of cake. Big deal to learning flash. So, what matters is, what are you doing with your photography, and how are you making the images that you want to make? So we're going to look at some ways of creating natural light that go beyond just standing somebody in the sun or in the shade, and see what's up. I wanted to share with you some tools first. And you'll notice they're not even, you'll notice here when I share this, that's right, they're not even Amazon links, folks. That's right. I'm not trying to get in your wallet. And even if it's Amazon paying me, ain't happening. Here's the stuff. This is a 60-inch tall, one of these 5-in-1 reflectors. I'm a big, huge, absolutely incredible fan of these things. I think it's the best bang for the buck you can possibly get with photography. When you're working with light of any kind, whether it's studio, strobe, or what have you, natural light, these things are amazing. I own probably too many of them, but they're really great, and they're not expensive. They're not expensive at all. Like I say, they are giant bang for the buck. You've got the gold and the silver. You've got black for negative lighting. And in this particular case, you've got apparently, you've got white on the other side of black, gold on the other side of silver, and the diffuser right here in the middle. That is a scrim. That is a very nice scrim. And you can do so much lighting with that by itself. Just the scrim is amazing. It's like having a softbox without having to carry a softbox or a strobe. You just use the sun. Reflectors, lots of reflectors. These guys, I love these units. There's a free class over at Udemy called Natural Light Fashion Photography by yours truly here. It's free. There's no charge for it. You can jump in there and learn a lot of ways to use these things. These are fabulous. If you're a natural light photographer, you need 2 of these, not 1. You need 2 so that you can put matching panels on both sides if you need to. This is really cool. This is something Steve would like. Steve, this is an 8-foot scrim that's portable. And you just put it on. I don't know how long it takes you to put all those little rings on, but you put all the little rings on. It's portable, man. This is cool. But these are C-stands, so that gives you an idea how big this thing is. $200 on Amazon. Check it out. Great.
Don't you remember the homemade one that I did at the Frederick class?
That's why I'm telling you.
Yeah, because this one probably won't blow away like the other one.
Yeah, or like the one I built and come apart, and then when the wind hit it and it came apart, and the PVC pipe hit the model right in the face. That was really fun. I now secure them with gaffer's tape, where I put it together and I put gaffer's tape on it. But, I mean, it didn't hurt her. She recovered in a couple of months, and once they brought her out of the coma, she was fine. This is another nice tool, studio tool. You got bat, you got black, you got silver, and you've got the scrim inside. These are great tools for natural light. And I'll tell you one tool that I think is getting a real short shrift on the internet by photographers who, I'm just going to honestly say it, I think they should know better. These people saying, oh, you don't need a light meter. No, you don't need a light meter. You absolutely want a light meter. You crave a light meter. Life is too short to chimp things in. It's like, oh, that looks pretty good. A light meter, makes a big difference. Makes a huge difference. One of the things that I want to share with you here, why I think light meters are very important, is that with a light meter, and you got a histogram, and you got your histograms all bounced up over here, and then here, and then, and then it comes in, it's short over here, okay? Well, see, we can figure out how short that is, can't we? Can we figure out how bright that is? No, because that's as far as the histogram window goes. What if this thing does this on the other side of the window? What's way bright? Is it 1 stop bright? Is it a half stop bright? Is it 2 stops bright? Is it 3 stops bright? Makes a big difference. Makes a big difference. And the other reason I believe in light meters is because light meters let you be very, very consistent. So if you're working on something that you want to come back to, the light meter will tell you exactly where, if you lit that last headshot, you had 5.6 from this side, and you had f 4.5 on the shadow side, and you had 6.3 on the hair, and you wrote it down, and you come back with your same lights, your octaves, and your stuff, and you do the same numbers. Guess what? It's repeatable. You can't do that by eye, looking at the 3-inch piece of stuff on the back of your camera. And if you think that it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm close enough, then don't be charging money for making photographs, because if you're going to charge money, close enough isn't good enough. We don't do close enough. We're asking for money. We do perfection whenever we can. All right, I wanted to share a few shots with you here and then get some questions from everybody. I think I'm going to share this set first. Here we go, down here. These are from a workshop that I just taught online. I do these little 8-week workshops, and this was from one that I just did on natural light and different uses of natural light. This one is where you find your own natural fill card. So we have the young lady dancing right on the shadow edge. This, by the way, is one of my favorite lighting tricks. You put somebody right on the edge, and notice she's got backlight all the way around her, all the way, backlight. She's edge lit beautifully. It's right on the shadow, right on the shadow line. If you were standing over there and you just picked up, if you put her shoes right on this side of the shadow line here, you pick up a little 2 inches of concrete in the front, and it's like a studio shot. She's like standing on seamless or whatever, and you've got your hair light coming in over the back. It's just beautiful, and it's easy to find. The tricky thing is, what do you use to light her up? What is she being lit up with? Well, she's being lit up. Hold on. I'm getting some feedback, folks, from somebody. If you're not muted, please mute yourself. I can't see anybody who's unmuted. Weird. Okay, sorry. The thing is looking for a place that uses natural fill, and that's what we did here. Here's the model, and then we got a little short wall here casting a shadow forward, so she's standing right on the shadow line. And right across the street is a 2-lane road, downtown Phoenix. Right across the street is a great big white building. And the sun is back here. As you can see, it's throwing the shadow forward. See, the shadow's coming forward. And what's lighting her up is this big old white building back here. It's really fun when you start going out looking for spaces that can work for you, that can create the kind of lighting you want to create. I can shoot all day with light like this. I just love it. If you want to darken it on one side or another, got the big black negative boards, or the 5-in-1s with the black on the side. You put it over on one side, you get a little bit of a darker area coming down the shadow side of her skin, because her skin is shiny, and her shiny skin will reflect what it sees, which would be the black card. Okay? So real easy way to find that. There's another shot, same young lady. She's actually in an alley, and there's a little tip off to the lighting way off in the back. You can see there's sunlight. What's happened is the sunlight's coming this way. This is a 2-story building. It's coming this way, and it's landing on this pavement right about there. So what that means is the other side of the alley is lit. Sun's hitting this. She's on this side of the alley. Really makes beautiful light. She's also back far enough so that the light over here wraps around in front of her. So we do have light on the subject. So this light's hitting all of this wall here. So this wall here is filling in, and back here are bright buildings, bright grays and whites, and one of the buildings is a bright tan, and they're being totally lit by the sun. So when we go back to our subject here, look how beautifully she is lit. Look, we even have catch lights in the eyes from that thing behind me, from that building behind me. Notice the shadow. Do you see the shadow? She's throwing a shadow. That means there's directional light. The directional light is coming from opposite the shadow, coming from this corner of the building and lighting her up just really, really well. Again, it's looking for those natural places that happen. And cataloging. I don't go anywhere without not one of these little field notes. Got them everywhere. And love this shot here. This was taken down in Florida. It was taken in the wintertime. And she brought the parka over, but it was about, I want to say 85 degrees. Incredible. December in Anna Maria Island. But she brought the parka. Really thought this would make a nice shot. This is all natural light. And the way we did it, we've got the sun coming back this way, but it's hitting a white card. And you can see the white card is over here. So the white card is not only lighting up the back side of this fur, but the sun is lighting this side of the fur. The sun is lighting the white card, and that bright white card is lighting up, it's lighting up this white card. And it's lighting up this white card, because all of this is in the shade. By the time we get over here, we're in the shade. So we're using this white card to light those two white cards. Does it make a difference? Well, look at that. We've got a beautiful highlight on our lips. You can see one of the cards in the eye right here. Card to the left is in the eye. And look how beautiful the light presents right on the plate of the face. This is my 80 to 200 shot at 200. I love to do headshots at 200. I rarely do them at anything shorter than 135. Headshots like this. I love the long lens look, so to speak. And when I did the workshop, we just finished the workshop. When I did the workshop, to show everybody I've been doing this for a long time, I included shots from my portfolio back in the day, back when the hair was black and the sideburns were long, and the lovely Sandy would be today. Sandy would be 55. She's probably a grandmother by now, but the lovely Sandy was right outside my studio door. That's the part of the roll-up door. My door was there. We were just sitting outside. The sun had gone down most of the way. There's a big old white motor home sitting on in front of her this way. The building is blocking the sun here. And so the ambient setting sun is hitting the big old white motor home, and that is lighting up my subject. I liked shooting outside you can see how bright, see the sun is coming from behind the building. So it's a little bit brighter on that, right? So this is, and this is a Nikon F3 180 millimeter 2.8 lens, handheld. And it was one of my favorite ways of shooting headshots. It's just so soft. Because the light would just wrap around in there, and that big old motorhome had been there for about a year. They were working on it, and I used it as a fill card whenever I had the opportunity. I would rather shoot outside than in a studio at this point in my life. In previous iterations of me, I spent eons in studios. Oh God, did I spend time in studios. But we just get a little nice bounce from over here, and makes it really nice. Makes it really nice. It's brighter back here because the sun is back there, and you can see it in the picture. That sort of nice natural wrap around. There's nothing on this side of me except open sky. The building ends and there's a big open sky. So, Tri-X. All right, I want to stop for a second and find out if there are any questions, any natural light questions about what we've been doing so far here. I love questions because questions make us go places that we may not think to go as we're doing presenting.
Yeah, I got one for you, Don.
Mm-hmm.
When you're using a light meter, something I'm starting to notice as far as actually dialing it, I mean, getting the ratios so you can compare one to another, I get that. But when it kind of probably has to do with the inverse square law, where when you're metering somebody and you're right next to their chin, but your camera's, 10 feet, 15 feet away from them,
right.
Is there a good way to measure or calculate the light fall off from where the meter's at to where you're actually taking the picture of?
No, there's no such thing.
So if you're using a softbox and it's a couple feet away from them and reflecting, if you meter them at the chin but you're a few feet back.
Yeah, your camera distance does not matter.
Okay.
There's no light fall off in camera distance.
Okay.
There's light fall off from the light source to the subject, but not in the camera to the subject. Not at all.
Okay.
One of the things, let me grab my meter real quick.
You're gonna grab that big old heavy thing?
What's that?
You're gonna grab that big old heavy thing?
No, my meter. My trusty Minolta. Okay, when you're making an exposure, it goes under the chin. Why does it go under the chin? Who knows?
Because that's where you're going to get the even light between left and right from where the camera's at?
No, it's because the plane of the face and the under the chin is the same plane. If I put it in front of the face like this, it's now closer than the face, right? Which is, if you're 10 feet away, that's not going to make any difference, right? But if you're only 3 feet away and you hold the meter up this far away, that you could be off by a third of a stop.
All we're seeing is the image of that girl.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry.
I've got a question.
Hold on. Let me finish this one first.
Okay.
When you put it this way, it's the same plane. If you're holding it out here and your light is like right there, right? If you're doing that, you could be a stop off, right?
Right.
Make it right onto the plane. If you're doing for ratios, the dome, and remember this, the dome always faces the camera. There's a different school of thought. There's a group of photographers who say the dome faces the light. They're idiots. Okay, so the dome always faces the camera. If I want to find out what that light is, I block this light off. If I want to find out what that light is, I block this light off. And I take separate exposures. So I just block the light from the dome. Okay? And that's why when you get the Sekonic meter has the thing where you can dial the little ball back down inside. That's for doing ratios. Then you can turn it this way and turn it that way. It's for doing ratios. Okay, I have someone here says Alien's iPhone.
So what I wanted to ask you is, when you're doing it inside the studio, do you shut all the lights down and make it dark?
No.
When you're making the reading?
No. The light in the studio isn't strong enough to make any difference. So here in my, oh look, it's dead. My battery's dead. Well, if I did this right here in the studio, took a reading, I mean my officer took a reading, it would probably come out something along 2.8 at 30th of a second at ISO 100. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we're in a studio, and I would get, in my studio, I would get, we had the big high ceilings. We had the regular ambient lights on, but we didn't have any big strong lights on, just the regular ambient lights so we could see. I would take a reading. I'd get f2.8 at a 15th of a second. That was in my studio. So if I'm going to be shooting strobe at a 200th of a second, 15 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 120, 120 to 250, I'm 4 stops under at 2.8. If I'm going to be shooting that headshot at f4, I'm 5 stops under. And if I'm going to shoot it at 5.6, I'm 6 stops under. In other words, if I took the camera and put it at f5.6 at a 200th of a second and the flash doesn't go off, I've got a black screen. There's no light. The exposure is way too much.
How about the ISO? Can you set the ISO up to 1,000 from in your light meter?
Sure. Yeah. You can do all. You can figure out any at all if any.
Because I have a Sekonic light meter, one of the older ones, and I was trying to adjust the ISO. I couldn't adjust the ISO. My ISO was only showing 100.
Was only 100?
Yeah.
That's got to be a no. That's
Which light
something
meter
else.
do you have?
There's something else. The
Sekonic.
Yeah, but is it the 308?
308U or 308L, or it's 358. I don't remember.
Yeah, so you have to push a button down and then take the button that you would normally push for the change of the f-stop and bump it up. And that'll change the ISO,
Yeah.
bump it up or down.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
So-
even, I can't even imagine a meter that will let you change ISO.
I have one more question
Sure.
if I can ask. Okay, when I'm trying to do product photography where I need completely white background.
Uh-huh.
So do you need to measure the background, then you measure the subject every time
Yes.
you,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's not a natural light question. Stick around. Okay.
Okay.
We get to the
Dom.
end and I'll show you exactly how to do that.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Thanks.
Sure.
Hello, Dom. It's Luciana. I have a question on natural light. When you shoot natural light, reflective light, do you meter on the model's face? And when you do you overexpose slightly?
Oh, two really good questions. Let's jump over to the whiteboard and I'll share with
Right.
something.
Thank you.
I watched a YouTube once, Luciana, and there
Yes.
was a photographer standing on this hill, and down here was a little valley. This isn't like a great valley. It's just a little valley with a ditch in it. And then over here, and it went up on the other side, and the model was standing over here, and the photographer was standing over here.
Yeah.
And it was a sunny sunset. Okay. So the
Yeah.
sun is coming over the photographer's head. With me?
Yeah.
Lighting
Yes.
up subject over here.
Yeah.
So the photographer looks at the videographer and says, now I have to take a meter reading. And she climbs down, gets wet in the water, steps in the water, climbs up the other side and holds the meter facing the camera.
Yeah.
When all she had to do is turn around and hold the meter like that. There's no difference. She's 20 feet away. There's no difference. It's just hold the meter up and get a reading.
You said that was in daylight too?
Huh?
You said that was in regular sunlight too?
Yeah, regular sunlight. Yeah. Now, if you were in the sun and she was in the shade, yeah, you're going to want to get the reading from the subject. But if you're both standing in the same light, if you're both standing in the same shadow, right?
Yeah.
It's the same light. So you don't have to do that. But to answer your question, yes, I meter everything. I should be very, very candid here. These days, I don't haul this thing out as much as I used to because I've been doing it for like a long time. And after a while, you can see the light. It's not something I believed a long time ago. I went to a Brett Weston photo workshop over in Carmel, California with my 8x10 view camera. And I was so excited because Brett Weston was Ed Weston's son and he was teaching the workshop. And we were shooting where Ed Weston shot, and I had my 8x10 and I was set up and we're ready to shoot. And I reached to my jacket pocket, me and this other guy, and I pulled out my meter and he pulled out his meter, and Brett Weston went off the rails. He was yelling and shouting. He said, "You're photographers. You're supposed to see the light." It's like, what the hell else do you have to do than to know what the light is in your head? What's wrong with you? Why do you need that meter? And I'm like, because, I can't see it that well. And he said, he looked out there and he said, ISO 100. f8, 125th of a second. He turns around, walks off, and I grab a shot, right? He was dead on. You can see it. I thought, wow, that's really special. After you've been doing it for 50 plus years, you can do it too. So I don't pull this out all that often. I pull it out at sunset because that changes. I pull it out at sunrise because that's not always the same. I can't sit in a bar and tell you what that light is. I can't do it. I'm not that sensitive to it. But if you set up a flash and you flash me twice with it, I can get you within a half stop what the flash is, just because I've done it for a long time. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying you'll get it. But the only way you get it is you go over and you use this every single time. And before you cook, you press the button, you make a guess. With me, Luciana?
Yeah, but Don, I have a question though.
Sure.
If I use, I have a Nikon, but I also use a mirrorless camera, a Fuji. And with a mirrorless camera, where I can see the exposure before I take a shot on my screen, does the meter becomes relevant? Because I can see exactly what my exposure is going to be before I actually take the shot.
Yeah, I have a...
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like if I shoot with my Nikon, then perhaps I would want to use the light meter. But with my Fuji, I can actually see with the histogram.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. You have shot with your mirrorless camera and brought them back into Lightroom, right?
Yes, yes.
Have you ever had to lighten or darken an image?
Yes, I have, because I think...
Then use a meter.
Because I think my Fuji is underexposing a bit, actually.
Well, that's the thing. I have a Nikon mirrorless, and I look through, and I love that. Oh my God, I love that. My Lumix does the same thing. I can see the exposure.
Yeah.
Right, and I love it. But I'm looking through an electronic viewfinder. I'm not looking at the image later. And I have found that, you know, if it was perfect, I could come home with that card, stick it in, and go, yep, nailed it. Yep, nailed it. And I'm sure you're pretty much like me. We nail probably more than we don't with that, but we still don't always get everything. And the meter is, and remember, the meter doesn't tell you what to shoot at. The meter just tells you what the light is. What you decide to use as exposure, maybe you go up one, maybe you go down one, maybe you add a half stop, what have you. That's your call. Was it you that asked me, do I overexpose?
Yeah, what I was asking you, when you're using reflective light for the images that you have shown us up to now, do you use spot metering on the model's face?
No.
When you do you actually overexpose a bit?
I'm always overexposing. If I'm going to change the exposure from what we call box exposure, you know, the ISO rated on the box of the film is what we used to call it, box exposure. If I'm going anywhere, I'm going up because I'm going to brighten the skin, okay? But I use this. I don't use the spot meter.
Okay.
I trust this dome implicitly. It never lies to me. And I shot tens of thousands of rolls of slide film, which you can't miss on slide film. You can't, because the film is processed. That's it. You can't make it lighter or darker. You're done.
Right.
This always.
But I'm sorry to bother you again, but I shoot children, okay, and it's a bit difficult.
If I was shooting children,
yeah,
I'd be shooting the mirror. I would be shooting the meter in my camera. Yeah. Because they're moving around. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't use. It would be quite impossible to use.
No, I would never tell you. I mean, you can't you can't shoot wild animals with this.
Yeah, exactly. It would be quite crazy.
Well, unless they're out in the valley and you're standing on the sand, and it's a bright sunny day, and just take a reading. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. You're very question.
Yes.
Hey, Don.
Yes.
That last portrait you showed us, you said that you typically you love shooting at 200 millimeters for portraits like that. Are you shooting at f2.8, and at what distance are you shooting usually?
Oh, I can't remember the distance on it. Whatever the distance would be to shoot this. I'm back a little bit I'm not just really closed in on her face. I've backed up a little bit, and if I have to explain why I did that, then you're not looking at the picture. And remember, I was much younger then.
But were you shooting wide open though?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was shooting wide open. Almost always for the headshots. I was a thin slice of, I still am. I prefer, well, let's put it this way, either 2.8 or 4, Mike, either 2.8 or 4.
Okay.
I think this one is definitely 2.8. She's in focus right here. That's not in focus. That's got to be 2.8. 4, I could pull that other eye into focus. 5.6, I'm going to start picking up that hair. So, all right, let's try this other one here. We're going to share this one. And in this one, I'm going to show you how using white cards, fill cards, in a little bit different way, you can get a lot done here. This is Bree, my friend, and we're in California for this shot. And it's damp and her hair's all frizzy, and I'm teasing her about it, so I thought I'll do a frizzy hair shot for her. So she's just standing in the yard, and right on the edge of the sun, so the sun's catching the back of her. But over here, this is all shade. I'm in the shade, and then we've got this card. You see the card in the shade? The card is in the shade. It's not out in the sun. You put that white card out in the sun, you know, that close to your model, right? She's going to squint. I mean, it's just bright. It's crazy. You can't do that, right? But I knew if I put it in the shade, and I'm only 6 inches inside of this, that there's plenty of ambient light out here to light that white card up. And we got everything we wanted right in here. Just keep her lit. In this particular shot, we're on the porch. This was taken right after the other one was taken. We're on the porch. I needed to make sure that I could control the light on the plate of the face. And I call this the plate of the face, okay? I needed to control the light there. That's where things go wonky for me. And that's when I start to get what I call a complex face, which would be like a shadow, a highlight, a shadow, a highlight on the nose, and then a shadow, and then another highlight over here. And I've got this, you know, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark going across the face. I don't like it. You may like it, and it may be part of your style. It's not my style. I don't like it. So I like a very simple face, not a complex, a very simply lit, not a complex lit face. So I took white cards here, and I pulled this white card, even though it's in the shade. The white card's in the shade. This white card up against the wall is in the shade. There's so much light bouncing around that it just lit her up. Because you have to understand, skin reflects. It's not that we're bouncing light, because there was no light to bounce. We're all in the shade. Everything's in the shade. And the white card is simply giving her something to reflect, and you can see it in her eyes, right there, right there. This white card, which is literally right about there. It's really close to her. And that gives her skin something to reflect. Everything reflects. Her skin reflects light more than her hair. If her hair reflected the light the same as her skin, it'd be the same color as her skin. Everything reflects differently. Colors reflect differently. Skin surface reflects. So she has nice skin, and it reflects. It's not shiny like chrome, but it's not rough like plaster. It's what we call a medium efficiency surface. So she will reflect the things that are around her. But this is with 2 white cards, both in the shade. Look how pretty the light ends up.
How did you set up your white cards? So, I mean, do you use stands to set them up, or
Stands and A clamps,
yeah?
or also I have a couple of those fill card holders, I guess they're called. They look like a little mini boom.
Yeah.
It comes out and it's got the clamps on it, and you can put a fill card on it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are nice, but they're real wimpy. I mean, if you put anything, if you put like foam core on it, sometimes it'll start to tip. You got to be they're a little, and they're small. You can only put small pieces of cardboard on there.
Jay, don't let him fool you. He always has a handful of minions hanging around.
Oh, I mean the quote assistants, quote unquote.
Yes. Yeah, voice activated light stands.
Yes, voice activated light stands are important. They're important, especially if they're voice activated light stands. You can trick into waiting on the dock to get paid while you drive off into the sunset. Those are the best kind right there. Hey guys, go get a beer. It's just really fun to take this. I could have done this shot without the cards. She was in soft light, but she wasn't in this kind of light. No, not that kind of light. Look at this. Look at the beautiful light on this young lady, right? She's standing in a doorway right here. And out here, this is all shade. It's a bright sunny day in Santa Cruz, but the sun is over here coming this way. So the shade's coming out to about here. Okay. She's standing in the doorway. I've got two very large white cards leaning back to get a little brightness from the sun right outside the doorway. That's it. It looks like she's lit with strobes in a way, but she's not. She's just lit from the shade. And the evenness on her is presented from the giant white fill cards that are giving her skin something smooth and even to reflect. Take the fill cards away, and we've got a building over there and a tree and a car. There's a car, a gray car parked behind me. That's all of those would have contributed to her skin reflecting, but we chose to just fill it in with white cards. Just do this. That's the inside of the house. So it's not a very bright photograph. This isn't like, oh my God, she's so bright, she's glowing. Oh, I want to say this is 2.8 at a 30th, maybe. It's not a bright shot, but the exposure, because the meter probably said 4.5 at a 30th. And I knew that I didn't want it to be dark and muddy. So I popped it open a stop and a half, stop and a quarter, stop and a third, whatever. I popped it up. I placed the exposure. Whatever the meter does, it just tells you how much light there is. And then Kodak comes along way back in the day and says, okay, well, this will tell you the light for middle gray. So when I put that meter over there on her right here, that dome going towards me, the dome said, if you want middle gray in this picture to be middle gray, then shoot it at 5.6 or 6.3 or whatever it came out to, right? If that's what you want. But I'm like, no, I don't want this middle gray tone to come out that dark. I want it brighter. So I open my camera up a stop or a stop and a half, sometimes 2 stops. It's not an issue. I don't mind doing it. I like it. Because you can burn down easier than you can pull up. Anybody who's ever spent time in Photoshop knows that. I can burn it down. I just can't pull it up. It's better now than it used to be, but still. White cards. Same model, sitting on the same porch I shot Brie on, but because of the way the light was very ambient, the light was very ambient out in the yard. You can see it was just a sunny day. I want to say it's like noon. What was happening is off to the side, it's dark over here. It's dark over here. There's the porch comes out like this. Yeah, over here comes out like this and comes back a little bit. So it's kind of shadowy in here. That was dark. And then on this side of her, on this end, was a lot of shadow as well as an overhang as well. It's a little bit dark over there. So what was happening on her is I was getting dark edges because her skin was reflecting all this darkness to either side. There's darkness on that side, darkness on that side. And so her skin was giving me all this darkness. And I wanted her to pop off the background. I didn't want any darkness. There's nothing wrong with the darkness. I mean, if it's something you like when you're shooting, then, you know, by all means do it. I didn't want it. I wanted her to just be really bright right off the background. So I put the two white, I showed you that rig before. I put those on either side of her and tilted them out towards the light a little bit. So instead of being like perfectly perpendicular to her or me, the camera, I twisted them so they'd catch a little bit more ambient light and light up. And then I moved them in and out until I had a more even representation on her skin. Just to keep it nice and bright. You can see a little highlight here and there. And just like I did before, here's Pat DeRoss taken, shot was taken 1984, I think 1984. So that's what, 35 years, 36 years, 30 something, 35 years. And it was shot on Ektachrome. And what I did was I had this building over at Papico Park was blocking the sun. So she's in the shade. And then I took this big white V card. It was 3 feet on each side, 3 foot on this side, and then 4 feet tall, because that was the size I could fold up and put in the cart. So I made the V card and I could put it on a stand. And the V card is just reflecting, this is all shadow. It's just giving her skin something even to reflect. And it's in very close to her. And we just use the sun, and that right there, that's the bright sky over the top of the building, just clouds, you know, lighting her up. And I used to have photographers would come to me and say, how did you get that so even? And I would tell them that I did it all in processing. I'd use such and such a lab or something like that, because in those days I was a total ass. And I wasn't in the business of teaching anybody anything. Y'all want to learn it, go out and learn it. Now I'm happy to tell you how I did it and give it all away. So, questions on the second group of images. Does everybody understand that everything reflects just differently? Shiny things reflect absolutely, right? Like mirrors, chrome, shiny black automobiles, they shine, they reflect absolutely. You can see yourself in them. Things that are not quite that shiny, like skin, leather, it'll give you back a highlight, but you may not be able to see the shape of the highlight or the reflection. Something that is a very textured surface won't have any reflection at all. There is no shine. There's no shine on the bark of a tree from the setting sun, right? Who's out there that shoots? Stephen, if you're shooting the trees on a sunset, there's no shine on them, right?
No, you're going to have a nice wraparound.
Right. What happens if they're wet from rain?
Well, then some of those pointy spots, you'll get some specular reflection.
You'll get bright specular reflections of the sun at those angles where it sees the sun.
Yeah, there'll be actually direct 90-degree angles to the sun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can I
So, because the water's wet. Yes.
can I ask you a question? I was doing I was doing a purple shirt. I took a picture when I post process it shows as blue color. What am I doing wrong?
Oh, you took a sunset and it came out blue?
No, not a sunset. I took a t-shirt in my studio. I took a t-shirt picture to put it in the catalog. It was purple color. And when I get it to post it on the internet, it was showing as blue color.
It could be your color setting for your sensor. It could be a lot of things. It could be how you processed it to go on the web. You have to use sRGB. If you try to put up something with Adobe 1998, it doesn't look very good on the internet.
Okay.
So there's a lot. I would have to see the image and see what you did post.
Okay.
Hang tight for a second. Any other questions on using cards and stuff for natural light and having fun with it? Anybody?
So Don, just to clarify one point.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you can use a whiteboard in case of this image of this girl you're showing right now.
Right.
You put a whiteboard in the shadow, and you will still have some reflective effects, even if you are in the shadow.
Yes.
Because the skin is actually reflecting.
You've got it.
Against the whiteboard. So you
Yes.
don't need, okay, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I see people pull out whiteboards, they always pull out a flash so they could light up the whiteboard. And I'm here to tell you that if you're working in the shadow line, and let's bring up that share here. Let's bring up the whiteboard here.
So what I'm saying is the whiteboard doesn't necessarily need to face the light, because it can be in the shadow, and the skin will be reflecting on that board, even if you're in the shadow, correct?
Right. So I'm gonna pick, this is the shadow over here, and this is sunlight. Okay. Here's a whiteboard. Okay, and here's a whiteboard, and you take a picture of both. What do they come out like? What do they look like? You take a picture of this one in the shade and this one in the sun. Do they look different?
No, will be the same.
They would be the same, because the correct exposure for white is white, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But your exposure is going to be different. This might be 1/60th. This might be 1/200th. Right. But the white's going to remain the same. So if your subject's over here and you've got the white board and your subject reflects that white board, they're going to be reflecting a white board, which is going to open up and give them a light. Their skin is going to reflect the white board. It doesn't have to have light on it. When you put light on it, it becomes a light source. When it becomes a light source, that's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah. I understand. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. One more question. How do you do with jewelry with shiny stuff like silver and gold?
How do you you mean in natural light?
Yeah.
Scrims.
Okay.
You've got your table with your jewelry on it, and you got your camera up here, for instance, coming down like this, and you take a scrim and you put the scrim right down like that, so that if you lowered it anymore, it'd be in the picture. Okay? So you put it like that so that this jewelry...
I can't see it.
Well, am I not sure?
I can only see your face.
No, you're showing it on mine.
Yeah, it's screen sharing. We can see the whiteboard. It might be where he's on his phone.
On the draw screen.
Okay. You get it right down on top of it. That way, all the jewelry can see is the scrim, and then you adjust it from there. You start with it as close as you possibly can get it. And this is in all lighting situations, portraits, whatever. Start with your light as close as you can get it, and then move it back to where you want it. Don't start with it back here, because if you do, you'll never find out what it's like when it's up here. You'll never know, because you'll never get there. Because you get about here and you go, oh, that looks good, and you shoot it. You'll never know that that might have looked good. If you start here at this point, you got forever to go back to make your shot.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you wanted to, can you see the whiteboard, or you're not being
Yeah,
able
yeah. No,
Okay.
I can see it now.
Okay, so what I wanted to show you, you asked about the white background. Okay, so you take your sweep of paper, you bring it down like this for your product. You don't do this with it. You don't hang it down and do this. This is no. You sweep it down like this. So you put your product right here and your camera here, and you've got your softbox up here, and you're reading and your white cards and all that stuff. Your reading for the front of your product here is F8. With me?
Yes.
Okay. We take a second softbox and we put it over the background like this. And if we light this background here at F8, it's going to be white, because
Correct.
perfect exposure of white is white. We're not going to shoot it at 8. We're going to shoot it at 9 or 10. We're not going to shoot it at 11. If we put it at F11, that's one stop over, and you'll start to see light bleeding around the edges of your product. Just imperceptible, but it's there. It's there. The edges of your product won't look sharp because your background is now backlighting your subject. It's no longer white. If you go and make this thing 16, 2 stops over, you won't have any edges to speak of. Because now 2 stops over is backlight. Your main light is back here, not up here. That's not how you do product. So get it to F8 or whatever you come up, F11, match this back here, match it at F11, and then dial it up 2/3 of a stop or a half stop or 1/3 of a stop, and you should be fine.
Okay.
But if you try to light this curve up, okay, try to light this curve up and your camera's over here, what happens when the light hits that spot there? Angle of incidence, angle of reflection. You now have a bright line running through the back of your picture that no matter what you do, 16, 8, 9, 5.6, this is still going to blow out because it's going to be an absolute reflection of the light source.
Don, I wanted to chime in on this because something I learned through Hard Knocks is that distance between your sweep and your product has to be significant. You can't do it on a card table.
No, you're right, Steve. Thank you. Your sweep back here. Oops. Where's my? Here we go. Your sweep back here, coming down across here. This is where your product is. This is where your other softbox is in reality, okay? And this has got to be at least 4 feet, at least 4 feet, 5 feet, somewhere in there. This has got to be some distance here. And so you're going to have to make sure that this doesn't go dark either. So sometimes you have to use 2 softboxes or 1 really big softbox or 2 sets of umbrellas to keep this white. Because if you try to do it on a card table where it's coming out here and you've got your item here and you're trying to do something like squeeze it in here, it's just a lot of, so you go through a lot of work for very little return because it usually doesn't work.
So if I want to watch this again, where is there on YouTube? I'll be able to watch it.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be up on YouTube and linked from Lighting Essentials.
Okay.
If you follow my YouTube channel, they'll be there. They'll all be there tomorrow. So.
Okay, I see you post everything like on Sunday or Monday. You post something every week.
Oh, I try not to be that I try not to be that ecstatic about it, but if I am, I am. I didn't realize that. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Happy to answer questions as long as you got them.
So what lens would you be shooting with this product for this the diagram that you showed me?
Product photography is probably 35, 50, 60, and 85.
Macro?
60 macro, maybe. If you're shooting Nikon, the 60 macro is one of the best lenses you could ever buy, ever.
I live
For
in
any
die,
camera.
I live and die by my 60 micro for Nikon.
Yeah, it's that's what I think. Andrew Scrivani uses that lens. As you know, that's his only lens.
I use my 50 most of the time. If
Mhm.
I use my 90 macro, I find I have to get the lens back 4 foot. Otherwise, my depth of field is too shallow.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it compresses. You know, it brings things together, and sometimes it too much. Sometimes it's perfect to do that. I mean, I've shot product with 200 millimeter lenses. You can do it, but it's more of a specialty than the average way of doing it.
Don, it's Luciana again. I have a question. The way you use reflective light, obviously you live in a very lighty climate. I think you live in Phoenix, Arizona, if I remember well. I live in London, and the weather here is always cloudy. And now, what I want to ask you, would I be able to achieve the same effect with whiteboard if I shoot in a sort of a cloudy, gloomy weather? Will it be the same? Because obviously the way you use, I assume the images you've taken are in a bright, lighty environment, whereas here in London the weather is always lousy. And
Right.
will I be able to achieve the same?
Well, it depends on your light source. So if it's a bright, foggy day, right?
Yeah.
And your light source, the fog, for instance, the light
Yeah.
source is bright,
Yeah.
then the answer would be yes. But if you're on a gloomy day where your light source is gray, dark gray, you know, like rain clouds, then your light source is dark gray. So your bottle would be reflecting dark gray. And no, that will not work.
It will not work. So I will have
That's
to.
when you pull out your speed lights and you take the speed lights and pop the boards.
I mean, it only works if I'm in Italy with a lovely weather and nice sun, but no.
I do have great advice for you though, living in London.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes.
Move to Portugal.
I'm actually Italian, and I spent some time in Italy in the summer, and the light is so lovely there. But here, you know, it's a bit, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I assume you will be able to reflect the light when the sun is shining and whatever. Otherwise, I have to use speed lights.
Yeah, I rarely turn speed lights on people these days. I rarely do. I'll turn the speed lights onto the boards.
Yeah, exactly. Reflective, yes. I would not want to use speed lights even with, I would directly, no. Even with a diffuser, I don't like the effect. Yes, it will be there to bounce the reflection.
The students who took the last class that these shots that this stuff is from, I asked them what they want next, and they want a class in mixing speed lights and daylight specifically for that. We had a couple of students who live like, you know, it rains more than we get sun. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, where when it rains, we all stand outside with our mouths open going, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
So, so that, you know, there are some challenges to that. So yeah, mixing speed lights and whiteboards or scrims, you can do tremendous work with your subject. It's hard to get the background to cooperate because it's going to go dark, right?
Yeah.
But with the subject itself, it's incredible.
But nothing like natural light, though.
For me, there's nothing like natural light.
Exactly. It's much
know,
nicer.
And I have a whole bunch of lights. I got 6 Pro photos and a Norman kit. I mean, I have enough lights to do anything I wanted with. But you know, I always think of them as being when they're used appropriately. And for me, natural light is one of my favorite things to do. It keeps me focused on my subject rather than thinking about the gear. And I love it. But I rarely, when I go on location for natural light, I've got a trunk full of stuff. I've got white cards and silver cards and gold cards and C-stands and clamps. And, you know, it's not usually, oh, stand over there by the tree. I want to finesse it more than that. So.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, everybody.
I have a question.
Oh, another question? Sure.
Yeah. Do you know when you're going to be announcing your next lineup of the 2020, like the 8-week classes you're going to be doing?
Yeah. I've gotten it out twice. So over this holiday here, there's no classes tomorrow for me. So probably this weekend I'll make some decisions on those two. We're going to start out in January. I know one of them is going to be mixing strobe and ambient.
Right. Okay. Well, the person that was using the one that said Alien's iPhone, and Lucian, like, if you've not invested into taking one of Don's classes, watch the Lighting Essentials page for when the classes come up, and it's worth taking the time and investing the money, because a lot of the questions that you have, you're going to learn how to do all of that.
Sorry, what's the name of the course again? Sorry, I didn't catch it.
It's at the Lighting Essentials website. Have you been there?
No.
It's at lighting-essentials.com.
Okay.
And there'll be a page there for the upcoming 8-week workshops. They're 8 weeks. You get an assignment each week, and then we go over them. We go over the assignments. And that's how it works.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Share your Facebook page too. Excuse me, not your Facebook, your YouTube.
Oh, my YouTube is I don't remember. I don't know how to get to
if you search for Don Giannetti,
yes,
it'll
if
come
you
up
search for my
YouTube.
name, you'll find my YouTube channel.
On YouTube. Okay, thanks. Thank you, guys.
Okay, and Mark, thank you for that. I think next year what I'll do is I'll have my free Black Friday shows, and then I'll have Mark come on and pitch me at the end.
Well, he's going to tell you he doesn't want to sell you anything, and it's good because he gives out so much information, and you know, a lot of the questions that they were asking, it's stuff that, you know, you will learn all of it.
There's a free lighting course at Lighting-Essentials. If you want to know what light does, there's a free course there. It's 9 or 10 modules long. There's also one for photographers getting ready to go and be professional. What do you need? Like portfolio, lead behinds, how to use direct mail, how to use email. It's all free. There's nothing for sale except the 8-week workshops on the thing. And the only thing I'll leave you guys with from a sales thing is I am a coach, a one-on-one coach with photographers. I will push you and prod you, and you will make great progress working with me. All of my photographers have. One of my photographers just bid a job and got it. It's a $36,000 photo shoot for packaging. $36,000. So the next time someone tells you there's no work out there, you could just, you know, pick up a 2x4 and gently hit them inside the head. Because yeah, there is. You just got to go find it. It's out there. Thank you, everyone. I will see you next time.
Thank you, Don.
And check out my WizWow, my YouTube channel, and Lighting-Essentials, and I think you'll find a lot of fun stuff. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Later, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.